I'm Emily from Comic Mix. I'm here with Randy Rogel, who is the amazing man behind many of the wonderful Animaniacs songs we all know and love. And Randy, I know that you had mentioned you went to West Point, is that right?
That's right.
You went to West Point. So how did you get from West Point to writing Yakko's World and all of the other great, I'm Mad, all the other great songs that you've done?
Well, it was all those music lessons that I took at West Point.
So I was going to say, do they encourage that at West Point?
West Point's a military academy, and when I was there, it's an engineering school. It's a school for officers. So no, obviously there's not a big curriculum for theater. I grew up doing a lot of theater, so I was exposed to a lot of great stuff. And then when I left high school, I went to West Point. Then I lived, in Italy. I lived around the world in different places. Came back. Then I was working in just normal corporate life, but I always wanted to work in film and television. I was living in Seattle at the time. I started doing some theater, so I thought, you know what? I don't want to do corporate life. I want to work in film and television.
What were you doing as a corporate person?
Well, I worked first in sales.
Okay.
Sales management too with Procter & Gamble. And then I was recruited away to another company called Digital Systems, which was sort of a high-tech company. And then at that time, I began traveling a lot, and I just thought, this is not what I want to do for my life, and I wanted to be an actor, a writer, a performer, all that. So when I came down to Los Angeles, I was writing a lot, submitting scripts and auditioning, and my scripts made it in at Warner Brothers, and I started there, and I had never done animation before, and they were doing Batman the Animated Series was the new series, and so I thought
such a great series
as a kid, yeah. And what I loved about it is it wanted to be sort of this dark, like little movies, and I saw the sizzle reel that had been done by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski, and it was just really cool. I thought, oh yeah, I could write this. And then I went to Al Burnett, who runs the show now. I mean, he's run every show at Warner Brothers. He's a brilliant guy. And I started working for him, and I wrote Batman, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, and then I saw the people working for Spielberg on Tiny Toons. I thought, I should be doing that. And so I said, I want to write on that next show, which was Animaniacs, to which I was told, well, no, you write that serious stuff, that dark stuff, and this is a comedy. So I said, well, comedy is me, So that's when I wrote the Countries of the World song and adapted that for the show. And then Tom Ruger, who ran the show, really brilliant guy. He liked it, so he submitted it to Spielberg. Spielberg liked it, so they said, we'll do another one. Pretty soon I had a piano rolled in my office with a little note from Steven Spielberg saying, okay, you're going to be our little Tin Pan Alley guy. And I've never looked back.
How did it feel when you got the piano with the note from Steven Spielberg?
That was pretty cool, because I had been writing scripts, but when I did the song and I did another, I would actually run home and sit at my piano and then come back. So it got to be so I spoke with Tom. They put a piano in, but I was a little nervous because I was making noise. I ultimately had my office right next to Jean McCurdy, who ran Warner Brothers Animation, just a wonderful woman. And a couple of times she would stick her head in my door and say, pipe down, I'm on the phone.
I was about to say, did people kind of run in and go, hey, it's a party,
It actually did turn in a little to the Brill Building. We like to hang up where people would come in and say, oh, play me a song.
That's great. Oh, so Yakko's World was the first one, and they were just, getting the people together for the show and everything. So what was it like when you heard Rob Paulsen performing the song and everything? I mean, this was your first song with Animaniacs, and when you heard it for the first time, what was that like?
It was pretty amazing, because I had, written songs. I'd been living in Seattle. I wrote for certain cabaret and shows and things, so I had a sense of good songs. And so when I wrote that one, it was just more, it was fun. I had been teaching my little boy the countries. He got a Globe for his birthday, and I was showing him my little boy Ryan, who's now fully grown. I was showing him the countries on the Globe. And I thought, gee, that might make a good song. So I was doing shows, so I was performing a lot, and so I was...
When you say you were doing shows, were you acting or singing? Or
Both. I actually got into a tour of Singing in the Rain. I've done I've done like 26 productions, where I played the Donald O'Connor role.
Okay.
So Warner Brothers was kind enough they would let, as long as I got my scripts in on time, and I got my songs in on time, and they're good, they'd let me go. So I was out of town doing that show when they recorded. I remember because the late great Rusty Mills called me, and because he was, he was the one who was storyboarding, animating out. He goes, "Where's the Spanish Sahara?" He was trying to figure out what this is. So then they recorded it, and Rob recorded. I hadn't met Rob yet, and so they sent me the recording to listen to it, and I said, "Who is this guy? He's really good."
Right?
And then Andrea Romano, I think it was, she said, he did it in one take. I went, whoa. So
That's
I thought, I'm writing all my songs for Rob Paulson. But then Jess Harnell and, and Tress McNeil
Tress
just
and
brilliant.
Jess and,
So I began writing for them too. And then what a lucky thing. I like to think I write good stuff, but your stuff is only as good as the people who can perform it. And I had the best. I really did.
You did have such a great cast of characters. They are characters in real life, but you had such a great cast of people to sing them, but they are such wonderful. I enjoy the songs so much. So now you have written a number of songs for Animaniacs. Do you have a top few favorites or a top few that have fun stories attached to them? A couple or so songs.
Well, the stories should be fun. I remember one time someone asked Steven Spielberg in an interview, they said, "What's your favorite movie?" And he said, "Why don't you ask me which one of my kids is my favorite?" It's very hard to say that. I love them all, and I wouldn't have submitted them if I didn't think they were good.
Of course.
But Rob and I do a show. In fact, for those of you watching this is September 2015. We're doing a show here at Dragon Con, which is a wonderful event here in Atlanta. And I've never seen this many people in my life, I think, So we're doing a show here that we've done with the Colorado Symphony. We've done it in Honolulu at one of the cons, in San Francisco, we've done it in Los Angeles, we've done it here before. And it's a show that answers the question you just asked me, where we get on stage and we tell the stories of the songs and how they came to be. And I'll say, well, you want to hear a song that they cut, that they wouldn't let me do, that we got cut? Or do you want to hear the original lyrics I wrote before the BS, that's broadcast standards and practices, made me cut them? Or Legal Affairs sometimes would call and say, "You're not doing that."
Really? What would Legal Affairs have had problems with?
Well, you'll have to come see the show, but it gets a big laugh.
Can you share one of those stories with us as a spoiler alert, or a spoiler to the show?
Well, it's for the Universe song is the one we're doing tonight, and I had the original ending to it that they cut, and so whenever I play it, people really laugh hard because they go, "Oh, okay, I see why they cut that." So you'll have to come see it when the show's playing near you.
I will be seeing it tonight, so that's I promise you.
I promise you'll have a good time. And also, unlike a lot of the things at Drag Con, which are all wonderful, where you go, you get autographs, meet people, for ours, you just sit back and we entertain you.
Yes. Which is great.
Yeah.
So I know a number of the songs, some of them are just super clever, like I'm Mad is just a super clever observation of how, sibling dynamics work, but some of them are also educational. And, what was did you just, the first one you said you were teaching your son, did you just really like to instill that into the songs, or did you have some outside people encouraging you to do that, or how did all that come about?
That's a good question. I started because I just thought it would be funny to make all the countries, and I left one or two out, I remember, just to see if the kids could figure out which ones I left down. But then I remember Tom came back. I don't know if this was his idea or Steven Spielberg's, but they said, "Well, do the States and the Capitals." So I did that one, and I thought I wanted to do that to the Turkey and the Strike, kind of make it Americana.
I love that.
That was a little bit harder because I had to say this capital and the state. I couldn't say anything else. That was a little trickier too. But Jess sang that wonderfully.
I love that. He did such a good job.
He did. He did a great job with
that. Beautiful thing.
And then then they said, "Well, do one with the universe." So I did with all the universe. So finally, I said, "Guys, we can do more than a list song." So I started doing some others. And then I was driving my son in the car with some of his friends, and they were all having this fight in the car in the back, and I was like getting frazzled. So, and that was right at the time Tom Ruger had 3 kids, Rob had Ash, we had all that, and so we were all in the middle of that. And the kids were, and I remember getting so frazzled, saying, I'm driving. And then I thought, that actually might make a funny song. And the killer of it is we did the song, and then later at a rap party, because Steven was doing, I think, Schindler's List and Jurassic Park that same year, so he was out of the country. So we'd get notes from him, but we all met up at the rap party in the Warner Brothers lot, and so we were all talking. And when it was my turn talking, he goes, "Oh my God, how did you get in the car with my kids?" So I thought, oh, well, if Steven Spielberg has the same thing as we do, then it's all normal, because everybody's kids argue. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. So obviously Animaniacs is not the only show you've worked on. You talked a little bit about Batman and everything. Other than than that, outside of Animaniacs, beyond that, do you have any favorite things you've worked on or stuff you'd like to share with us?
Well, I've worked on so many shows.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we had some brilliant shows, Pinky and the Brain, Freakazoid.
Yes.
I did very little on those. I did one of the Pinky and Brains. Peter Hastings ran that show. Just a really brilliant guy. He's running Kung Fu Panda and everything.
Oh, right.
But I went on there to Disney, and I worked on all the, I wrote songs. I worked on Cinderella. I worked on Mulan. I worked on Lady and the Tramp. It's like Peter Pan. I wrote songs for that. House of Mouse, Tarzan. And then worked on a couple of movies like the Winnie the Pooh movies and all that. So I had
With
lots to
Jim
do.
Cummings.
Yeah,
and
that was a really fun. With Jim
wonderful
Cummings, what a brilliant guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually won an Annie. It's like the Emmy in the animation, and Jim had presented to me. It was for Hysteria, and so that was really a joy because I'd written stuff for him.
Oh, that's
I wrote one
wonderful.
for the Big Bad Wolf called Big Bad Wolf Daddy. Like Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and he just killed it. He was really, because he does the Big Bad Wolf too.
Yeah.
He does everything.
Oh, and he's got that southern influence from his own background that he uses so well.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
And then he can do the Pooh and he can do Tigger, so he's incredible.
know.
But then from there on, I did lots of other shows. I wrote, I co-wrote a song with John Powell for Rio 2 for Kristen Chenoweth, which was done last year or the year before for the movie Rio 2.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm a showrunner on a show called 1001 Nights. I actually ran the first 2 seasons of it.
Okay.
And I've been working on a show at Disney called the 7D, which is a
Oh,
cute show.
right,
It's
with
the Seven
Billy
Dwarfs.
West and with
Yeah.
Bill Farmer and with there's 7
Maurice
of them plus
LaMarche.
Maurice LaMarche, right? I know probably all of the folks that are in it, but that's
and the guest
so
stars
much
have been Nancy
fun.
Cartwright, who does
Yeah,
Bart Simpson,
Bart
Tressa
Simpson.
McNeil.
Mhm.
So we have a very good cast for that. And in fact, one of our writers that worked before, Paul Rugg, is doing one of the. He's a brilliant voiceover artist too. So he's playing Lord Starchbottom.
Who is that?
Paul Rugg.
Oh, Paul Rugg, yes, who worked on many other things, including Animaniacs.
He was Freakazoid. That was his show.
Right.
But he wrote on Animania. He wrote some of the really
Yeah.
terrific episodes, and I think he did some Pinky and the Brain too.
I think
but
so.
Paul was working in the 70s. He was writing some, but I don't know if he's writing as much because he's performing and he's got other things to do. But I did the first season of that, and that was with a lot of the team from the old team from Animaniacs. Tom Ruger was running the show, and Tom was just an exceptional guy. That guy's got so many Emmys, I don't think he has enough rooms to keep them on.
He and Andrea Romano should have an Emmy party.
Yeah,
They just
exactly.
hang out together.
And Andrea Romano, what a lovely woman. Brilliant.
She's great.
But Sherry Stoner is on it.
Oh, yeah.
Deanne Oliver, working with her again. Paul Dini just joined, and I work with Paul on Batman. Paul's one of the best writers I've ever worked with.
So, of all these folks that you work with, do you have a couple of favorite funny stories of stuff that's happened between takes or in the studio or, that kind of thing?
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Oh, you can tell us. They always do, so.
I'm trying to remember. Somebody would have to sort of stimulate my memory as to what
Oh, well,
happens.
I don't know, something from Animaniacs? Like if you were, when you wrote the songs, did you get to go in and watch them perform sometimes?
Oh, absolutely.
Or?
I was always there.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, what was really amazing is Richard Stone, who's, passed away, but Richard was just a brilliant conductor and writer, and he, he ran all the music for, not just for Animaniacs, but for Pinky and the Brain, for Freakazoid, for all those great Warner Brothers shows during that sort of golden era of the 90s. And I like to think of him as Carl Stalling reincarnated, because he could do all those.
Right.
He'd wake up in the morning and dash off 3 minutes of music, But then he would call me and say, "Okay, we're going to be recording some of your songs." So I would go over to on the lot to the Warner Brothers soundstage, and where they had the original Carl Stalling, piano. It was really pretty cool.
Yeah.
And these musicians would walk in, and where's my seat? And they would just sit down. People like. And the arrangers, we had Gordon Goodwin. Gordon has won, I don't know how many Grammys now. He did for The Incredibles and maintained all that. Steve and Julie Bernstein. We had some really terrific
It was just like a
people.
golden cast and crew all the way around.
We really
for
did. And
that
all these
show.
people have gone on to do great things.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, who was working on our show was Ronnie Del Carmen. And Ronnie is like a big deal at Pixar now. He's like head of all story. Ronnie was a brilliant artist. And so, yeah, a lot of people have gone on to do really terrific things. It's kind of nice to see, because we all started so humbly.
Yeah.
But I remember I would go into the soundstage. All these musicians would come in, and Rich would take his place at the podium, and he would drop that baton, and man, boom! All this music would come out. You would just go, wow, these guys haven't even rehearsed. And then he would stop, And he said, okay, and the woodman said, Piccolo, that should be a B natural, not the B. And I go,
wow.
how did you hear that?
Right.
Those guys are pretty incredible.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So, as someone who's done a lot of bits of the show that people love, I know I love the songs. They make me happy when I'm sad or I need energy or something like that, or just a laugh, you know. So, how is it being someone who's contributed so integrally to the show, but people might not actually know your name offhand because you're not like or even with voice actors often have the thing where people know their characters but they don't know their names.
Know their face. That's
I think
right.
it's more of an animation thing because you know, people on screen, it's easy to know who they are. So what have your experiences been with fans and with like this over the years, kind of?
Well, it's pretty much, Emily, what you just described. People don't know who you are, and then when they find out, they go, "Oh, you did that! Oh, wow!" You know, and then so it's kind of nice. For me, I was telling some of the people I heard at the con, we sit at the tables, people come by to meet us, and some of them have said some really nice things like, "Oh, that song helped me get through school," and that, you know, it does my heart good because, you know, the actors get out and see more. They do these cons more than we do, and they get to see the fans and perform. But I represent more of the people who are the writers and the composers, maybe the artists and the directors, and we sit in a studio lot inside a room, you know, doing our craft, and then it goes out in the world, and we never get to see the reaction of the audience to it. So when I come here and people come up and tell me, or when we perform it live and I see it's wonderful to be able to see that they like your stuff, you know, that it's made an effect. So.
That's great. Well, I'm glad you come out and do that so you can experience that and so we can experience that because that's fantastic. So you had mentioned some of your current work, and you also said you were working on a show in New York, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about what
that
you're
is
doing?
1001 Nights.
Oh, that's the show you were talking about.
1001 Nights is, well,
Okay.
we have our production facilities in Vancouver. Most of my writers are in Los Angeles, although I have a fair amount of Canadian writers too, and our corporate headquarters is in New York, so we kind of do a triangle there. It's a wonderful show if you get a chance to see it. It's like on in 85 countries now, 15 languages.
Oh, wow,
so,
okay. I will check it out, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good show.
So you've done so much, but if you could choose, you know, maybe a person to work with, you can choose one who might not be alive, but then you have to choose a live one. So like a person you'd really love to work with who you haven't, a show you'd really like to work on that you haven't, and or like an idea you've got for something you'd like to see. Like, tell us what you would want to do next, so to speak,
you know,
or
you always want to meet your heroes. You know, and I was at the Hollywood Bowl 2 years ago, and my girlfriend's very close with Gary Marshall, so we got his lovely table up front. And you know, so we're there for watching Mozart and Beethoven, and Who Walks by Neil Simon.
Wow.
I had read every word he'd ever published.
Yeah.
So I thought, I don't get starstruck, because, you know, in L.A. you see stars, and we work with him all the time, but I got starstruck over Neil Simon, so I went over to meet him and got, you know, it's like, we take a picture. I said, "It's Mr. Simon, I'm a television writer, and, you know, we all worship you." And he was just so sweet, you know. So that was one.
Excellent choice.
Doing a lot of Singing in the Rains. It's a very heavy tap show, you know, because I did a lot of theater before I ever broke into television or film. And I'd always wanted to meet Gene Kelly. I did meet Donald O'Connor because I did his role on more than one occasion, and so we became somewhat friends. And so that was a big, exciting thing. I never got to meet Gene. He died just before. I was actually going to go to a lunch with a friend with Gene Kelly, and he got very infirmed at that time, and we canceled. Then he passed away after that.
Yeah.
I met his wife later, so we talked about that.
Oh, that's
But as far as what I really want to do, I mean, I love writing for film, writing for television, and for stage. I wrote a musical, but I want to do a musical, a big musical for Broadway. And so I've been working on that. It's too premature to talk about it, but we've got a really great property and a great team behind it. So
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, Randy, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for sharing with me and the Comic Mix readers and watchers all of your amazing stories and talent. Thank you.
Well,
It's been a
thank you,
pleasure.
Maureen. It's been a real pleasure.